Hello, this is Trevor from Telecom Training. Today I'm going to talk to you about routers and switches. There seems to be much confusion about routers and switches. This video would show you exactly what routers and switches do and how they function within a network. Here we have two networks, both separated by a router. This computer here have a private IP address 192.168.2.2 and it's connected to a switch. This switch is connected to a gateway router and it also has another computer connected to it. So let's talk about how this area of the network will perform first of all. These IP addresses that we have here are Class C private IP addresses 192.168.2.2. 2.1 is for the gateway and 2.3 is for this second computer on the network. The way local area networks work is that each computer on that network have to be on the same network. And what I mean by that is this 192.168.2 is the network part of this IP address. The 2 is the host part of the IP address. IP addresses are divided into two parts, the network and the host. This is a Class C type IP address, so the network is the 192.168.2 and the host is everything after the last dot, which is the 2 or the 1 or the 3 all the way up to 255. So from 1 right up to 255, so we can have up to 255 hosts on this network. Let's say this computer here wanted to send data to this computer down here. But let's say we have just put these computers together. They don't know anything about each other. They're pretty dumb right now. You just put all the required information into the computer. You just put the IP address. The MAC address is burnt right into the network card, so you don't have to type that in. This is already there. For every network card is a unique MAC address. But you put the 192.168.2.2, which is the IP address in here. Now, let's say now you wanted to contact this computer. Well, computers on a local area network speak with the MAC address. But this computer is just being connected. It has no way of knowing what the MAC address is for this computer. But it needs the MAC address to send any data to this computer. So this is the way it is done when a computer is new in the network and it doesn't know anything about any other computer in the network. This is how it's able to get the information it needs. The user here knows that we want to send to 192.168.2.3. So we would actually put that IP address in that we want to send files to that IP address. So what will happen is that an ARP will be sent through the switch. An ARP is a message that will go to all the ports within this switch. And basically what that ARP message is asking is, where is 192.168.2.3? All the computers connected to this switch would hear that message, but only the computer with that IP address 2.3 would actually answer. So this is the computer with the 2.3, so it would answer by saying, I am 192.168.2.3 and here is my MAC address. So it would actually send the MAC address through the switch back to this computer here. And by the way, when the ARP message goes out, the ARP message do not go through the gateway. The ARP message only stay within the local area. Routers block ARP messages. If the router was allowed to have the ARP message go through, not only would it go through to the other network, and when the ARP message go through, it actually interrupts what is happening in this network. So you get a lot of interference. And also on the internet, could you imagine that every computer in the world, every time they ARP, it goes out onto the internet? If a computer in China should ARP, it would echo all the way around the world. That would be quite disruptive. and it will disable just about every network because there would be so many ARP signals, nothing would work. So routers block ARP. So that's one of the first things that routers do, is to block ARP signals from the local area networks from getting out. So now the ARP will send out to this computer. We got the MAC address back. So now you could send the information through to this computer. So now they know each other's MAC address and they can exchange information back and forth. And by the way, it doesn't take long for the switch to learn all MAC addresses. The purpose of the switch as well is to retain a memory of all MAC addresses and where they are, so that when this computer wants to get in contact with this computer here, instead of ARPing, the switch could actually send that information to the computer right away. It doesn't have to ARP and disrupt the network. So switches are good in that way. So a switch that's been around for a while and it has all the computers in the memory performs very smoothly, and it cuts down on the ARPing as well. Switches store information about all devices on the network so that it makes it very quick for communication to take place. So here we have data that we want to send from here, and we want to send it to the other end. So we're using this computer to send data to this computer. This computer is 192.168.2.2. This computer is 10.10.10.19. So in order to send information from one point to another, as we know, we use the MAC address. So let's talk about how this is done when data is being sent from one network to another. So first of all, we have the IP address here, which is 192.168.2.2. What the computer does is create something called an IP packet. The IP packet is like an envelope that stores both the IP addresses and the data. So I'll show you how that is done. The data go into the IP packet and the IP addresses go into the IP packet. Now we have an envelope with both our data and our IP addresses. Now there's one more thing that we have to do before we send that envelope off. We have to put it into another envelope, and this second envelope is going to have the MAC addresses. The MAC addresses for this computer and the MAC addresses for, we send it to this computer, but we're not going to use this MAC address. We use this IP address, yes, but we use the MAC address from the LAN. The source and destination MAC address, the destination is this MAC address. So we're going to have a frame created, and we're going to put this IP packet into the frame, and then the source MAC address and the destination MAC address is going to be placed right into that frame as well. So now this frame is ready to be sent to the switch. When that frame gets to the switch, by examining the header of the frame and seeing the source MAC address and the destination MAC address, the switch knows right away that this frame should go to the gateway router. So it sends it off to the gateway router. The first thing the router does, looks at the source MAC address and the destination MAC address, which is this MAC address here, which is in the frame. And the router said, oh, this is for me. But then it takes another look at the source and destination IP address. It sees the source is 192.168.2.2, but when it looks at the destination, it says, oh, you are not trying to reach me, you're trying to reach 10.10.10.19, but you are just going through me. So what it does is it replaces the MAC address, which is the source 070436G7H278, and the destination MAC address 090147ADFE82, and it replaces it with this one here, 050225L8K278, and this become the source MAC address, and the destination MAC address will be this address 030538L2J197. So now it has replaced the source and the destination MAC address. It does not change the source IP and the destination IP. That remains the same. So now the router will send this information from the gateway to the switch. So now when the frame gets to the switch will look at the header information in the frame and see what the MAC addresses are. And it will see that you're coming from this MAC address and you're going to this MAC address. So the switch will just forward this frame to the computer. Now the computer would receive this frame, and the first thing it would look at is the header information. It will see that it's coming from this MAC address, which has been deleted for some reason, but as you know, it is coming from this MAC address in the router that was here a few minutes ago, and it is going to this router's MAC address. So the first thing we'll do is look at the MAC address information and see that it's coming from this MAC address, which somehow is being deleted. It was here a few minutes ago, but it's going from this MAC address here, or the gateway router, and it's going to this MAC address here. The computer will say, oh, you're looking for me, that this is my MAC address. So now the computer will take a further look at the frame, and it will see the packet. Now there's a packet in there that has more information. It has both IP addresses and it has the data. So it would unwrap that packet. So now that this computer received the data, what does it do with the packet in the frame? Well, it just destroys them, just disappear. All it needs now is the data. So now it has received the data. It could look inside of it to see what's inside. Is it MP3 or JPEG? Let's take a look. It is a JPEG. It's a picture of a bird. Okay, we have officially sent data from the 192.168.2.2 right through the switch of this network, right through the router to the switch, arriving at the router at the other network. No lesson will be complete without talking briefly about the gateway router. If this call was going to the internet, it would be routed in the same way, but when it got to this point, through the gateway router to the modem and to the internet. Now, of course, there will be a private IP address here as well, just like down here, because this is still on your network and the modem is still on your network. This is actually a router interface sitting in the modem that would have a MAC address and a private IP address. You don't actually pick up the public IP address until you get to this side of the modem. And at this point side in the modem, you'll have a public IP address and you'll also have a MAC address as well, where you'll communicate between here and the next hop. For those of you who would like more information on ADSL, I have a link in the description below of a course that's already on YouTube that will be able to give you a very good detailed explanation on how ADSL lines work. So it is more than likely it's an ADSL line between this modem and going right back to the internet. So that will give you a good explanation on ADSL lines. And also don't forget to subscribe, because I'll be putting out a video on how IP addresses work, talking about class A, B, C IP addresses, subnet masks, how you subnet IP addresses and how they all work in the network, and the different classes of IP addresses, all the private, public. So this is a very good course and I'm sure you would enjoy this. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It will be out soon and you can take advantage of that as well. My name is Trevor from Telecom Training. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next training class. Take care and bye for now.